My favorite moment, though, in the entire show, the best speech of the night. So Geoff Keighley, in the past, has been considered a little tone-deaf when it comes to issues in the gaming industry. Like, yeah, he called out Konami for their treatment of Kojima a few years back. God, years and years ago. But outside of that, yeah, Geoff Keighley's not really good at addressing issues in the game industry. And I just feel like that's how the show works at this point, right? Like, that's not... Like, that's been a constant criticism of the show. Because it feels like, you know, in, like, some ways, Geoff Keighley kind of feels like the head of gaming. But that's not... But that's only, like, when it comes to, like, the fun, lighthearted stuff. When it comes to the serious stuff, he doesn't really talk about that. I can't think of a good metaphor here. But, you know, he doesn't do that stuff. I mean, he'll occasionally mention it, but that's very few and far in between. But that's been a genuine criticism of him, right? And especially, like, at Summer Games Fest this year, and just there have been so many layoffs in the games industry. Like, they're in the thousands. Like, tens of thousands of people have been laid off. It's been an awful year behind the scenes. And yeah, Geoff Keighley could have just ignored it like he always does. But no, he came up and he just straight up admitted, like, yeah, in the past, I don't really talk about this stuff, but I know it is important. I know people care. I have a platform, so I should use it. And so he announced this new thing, right? Like, I make fun of the Games for Impact. Of like, yeah, this is not something a serious award show would have. But you know what serious award shows do have? Lifetime Achievement Awards. And that's kind of, like, that's the closest thing I could compare this to, even though it's not that. This was the Game Changer Award. You know, for people in the industry who are going out, who are making a difference. And the winner, right, he comes out, he addresses the layoffs, and then he introduces Amir Savat. Satvat? Amir Satvat. Satvat? Amir Satvat? It's S-A-T-V-A-T. And he, you know, someone who worked in the gaming industry, was laid off, and he saw this, and he took the opportunity, you know, to help others. God, I feel myself getting choked up just talking about this. You know, he's created a system where, you know, he helps people who have been laid off this year get jobs. And he has helped over 3,000 people. And I'm amazed I have never heard the story. Like, I know I don't work in the gaming industry. I have, outside of playing games and, you know, knowing a guy or two, I have very, very strenuous connections to the gaming industry. You know, close to zero. But, you know, I'm surprised I'd never heard a story about this or anything. But yeah, you know, him coming out here, him giving his speech, the best speech in the history of the Game Awards. Like, I know I praised Greg Miller's speech from 2015, you know, where he comes out and he highlights the people who works on the games. It's a great speech if you've never heard it. This one's better. He nailed it. And it's the closest I got to being choked up. I know I cried later in the night, last night when we beat Astrobot. And I know I'm kind of like, I can feel myself like on the verge of tears right now. Because, you know, this stuff does matter. And these people are important. And it was great. It's a great moment. I really do like this. You know, them coming out, them addressing the layoffs. Later on in the night, you know, Swin Venki? The head of Larian Studios also mentioned the layoffs as well. And yeah, and we'll talk about his speech in a second. But yeah, no, this stuff is important. And I'm glad they're addressing it. I hope this sets the precedent for future Game Awards. Right? Because this stuff does matter. Yeah, if you have not listened to it, I highly recommend it. This was probably the best moment in the game. You know, for their 10-year anniversary show, I know there were a lot of things. They were like, oh yeah, it's our 10-year anniversary. Let's do this and that. This is the thing I want in the 10-year anniversary. I don't want them, you know, jerking off, you know, talking about how great the Game Awards are. I want stuff like this. This is the stuff that matters. This was great. So if that's the best speech of the night, the second best speech, right, comes from Sven Vinke, who is the head of Larian, won Game of the Year last year. And he came out and he was like, you know, last year we were only given like 3 minutes to speak. I might have even been less than that. But he's like, hey, you want to speak again? All you got to do is win. And he came out and he was like, oh, this is the secret to making a great game. It's not about the microtransactions. It's not about the bottom dollar. It's right about making a game that you love, that people will love, that you care about, that matters so much. Okay, I feel myself. Oh my god. Give me a second. I'm trying to pull myself together here. It was a great, for that to introduce Game of the Year, say that, hey, this year there have been many problems. There have been layoffs. There are employees who fear for their jobs. There are employees who don't get paid enough. That people who, have a stable job, that make a good living, they will make good games. And this year, we had some great games. Fuck. I'm genuinely crying. Fuck, and I'm just talking about it. I'm not even... I did re-listen to both these speeches before we started tonight, but fuck, man. You know what? Maybe I did love the Game Awards this year. If I'm sitting here just talking about it and kind of tearing up, I know I cry on a dime. But still, yeah, if I'm just sitting here tearing up, maybe I did actually love the Game Awards this year. Even though I kind of listened to them like a podcast. Maybe Geoff Keighley did a fantastic job. Maybe he put together a really good show. He brought in some great people who gave some great speeches that I really do think matter. That did some fantastic work. Fuck. I know I'm laughing, but I'm totally also crying. Fuck. And then, yeah, the Astrobot speech at the end of the night, thanking Nintendo, talking about how, important Super Mario Brothers is, and hope that, maybe one day Astrobot will be that for the next generation, is also fantastic. That was a great way to end, a great final speech. Yeah, Geoff Keighley put together a great show. What can I say? Last night after watching it, I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10. One of, honestly, the best game. Even at an 8 out of 10, it's still probably the best Game Awards I've seen. Now sitting here, going over everything, looking at the winners. I know I had a pretty positive ratio this year. I think I got 10 predictions wrong and 17 correct. Even still, with all that, well, yes, that does help me with things. The announcements were good, the speeches were good. Yeah, no, I think I might bump this up. I don't think I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I don't know if a 10 out of 10 Game Awards exists, but this was a pretty good Game Awards. I think I'm gonna bump it up to a 9 out of 10. Fuck. And I think I think part of it is that I'm actually like tearing up right now. Fuck. Why do I have to cry at the time? No. After 10 years, they got something. I know, and I still will say, do the Game Awards actually matter? No. Do I try to make my own fun out of the Game Awards? Yes. Will I, if I do watch the Game Awards next year, if I actually do have time, most years I don't, will I probably do another stupid stunt like I did this year? Oh yeah, definitely. Looking at this whole thing wrapped up into one tight little bow that we've talked about for the past hour and a half, almost half the length of the Game Awards themselves. This was a great show. This was a great showing. Good job to Geoff Keighley. Good job to everyone behind the scenes. I know shows like this take like 6 months to make. I know it doesn't seem like it, but that's because, so many people work so hard behind the scenes to make something special. And it paid off. Right? I know the Game Awards don't matter, but for the people making them, they don't treat it like that. They treat it like it's the most important thing in the world. And fuck, it showed this year. Oh, God. God, I can't believe I'm still crying like 4 minutes later.